Hey guys, this is Sonny Whitehurst, and for what it's worth, here are my 2 cents. Today what I'm going to talk about is I've come up with some relatively cheap ways of making you some camera gimbal guards. Okay, these gimbal guards, I went to Lowe's, and the first one I'm going to show you, MDF wood composite. And I picked this up at Lowe's. You can get it in, I think it comes in 8-foot lengths. It's a type of trim. I think this is just a paneling trim. It's about 3/4 of an inch and not very thick. But it's made out of a composite. It's pretty easy to cut. It comes in a prime white, and the other side has kind of a wood tone to it. You can paint it if you want to or not, but this one is just left with a prime of white. That's actually what you see when it's put on the gear. And this is pretty simple. You just notch it out. I notched it out on either side, and this fits right into the channel in the landing gear, like that, and make it just a little bit wider than your gear is, just so it kind of pops in and holds itself. The friction, if you notch it correctly and everything, you'll get enough friction. It'll stay in place. I've flown this around a number of flights, and it stayed right in place. But of course your camera's right here, and you have to adjust this so it won't get into your camera when it's pointing straight down. But that's real easy to move it back and forth to adjust it properly. And once that is, it gives you, some protection from here. It would likely probably break it if it had a hard hit, but it would probably take up enough energy to save your camera. So that's the first one I've got. And the next one that I've got is one that I made out of, made this out of the same material that I made my landing gear skids out of, which is this Plex tubing, which you can pick this up at Lowe's too. I made the skids out of 3/4 inch inside diameter tubing, and I made this out of 1/4 inch interior diameter tubing. It's made by Apollo. It's Plex. You can pick it up at Lowe's. It's relatively cheap. It's less than $2 for a 5-foot piece. And so I made this. I had to cut it out so it would fit properly in here. Got these at a 45, and this you will have to put tie straps in. I don't think it will stay in place well enough. Possibly it would, but I think just to be on the safe side, you'd want to take this and use your tie strips to tie it in place. These tie strips are relatively cheap. They're probably something you can use if you wanted to take this off. You can put this in your flight case with no problem with them in. But you just, of course, drill you some holes. I drilled little holes through to accept these tie straps. And you just pull those through, lock them in place. And you end up with a guard that pretty much protects everything. It's relatively light. I weighed it out. I think it weighs out, this material weighs about 1 gram per inch. I've got about 12 inches here, so I think I weighed it and it came in at about 11 grams for this particular one. As you can see, this is tough material, so it would take a pretty good licking to help save your camera. Now I've got the extended landing gear here, and of course it spreads out 9 inches, where this is roughly 5.5 to 6 inches stance. This comes out at 9 inches, so of course I've got a wider spread, and I made this one for this particular landing gear. And when I did that, this sits up roughly about 1 inch higher than this gear, and when it does, the camera will covers its wide angle lens in that camera, so it spreads out relatively quickly once you start getting anything below the lens. And so you can put this pretty tight in there because it's fairly close to the lens, but on this wider gear you have to give yourself a little more breathing room so it won't pick it up in that wide angle lens. That's what I did there. And I've flown this around, and not only does it protect your camera and gimbal, it also makes your landing gear a little more stable, and so it gives that a little more stability. You know, whether you need it or not, I'm not really sure, but it may help save in a crash or something, damaging your landing gear, because it does give it a little more strength. Okay, for what it's worth, that's my 2 cents worth. Thank you for watching.